Brian, we can't see your bald spot.
Thank goodness.
So just don't look down.
I know. It's freaking terrible. It's freaking terrible.
What's up, Zeb Beard of Strokers Diesel?
Oh, everything's good. Work today. It's Sunday. I went ahead and worked anyway, though. I'm doing that 7 days a week thing,
If you're really about customer service and supporting.
Well, here's the thing: customers don't get in on the weekends. It's just me. But the real ballers work on 7 days a week when they want to. The other ones that we're talking about, they work on 7 days a week because they have to.
I think they work on 7 days a week because they don't have to, but they make their people do it.
Yeah, that may be some of it.
Yeah. They've made a choice that money is more important than quality of life for their team. Right?
Yeah.
They make an argument that like there are dudes who want to work on the weekend. Maybe their wife is a nurse and works weekends, or there are dudes who love fishing on Wednesday because the lake's empty on Wednesday versus the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of that, but not enough to staff 50 shops.
No, my guys, they kind of want to work on the weekends a lot, but I don't really I don't allow them really to, because I know.
Hey there, I'm going to tell you about something that has completely transformed how I run my shop, TechMetric. As a 20-year shop owner, outdated systems used to slow us down. Everything was clunky, from check-in to estimate building to customer updates. It all felt just super inefficient. Switching to TechMetric has changed everything. With TechMetric, you get a powerful shop management system that includes DVI, quick and easy estimate building, inventory management, real-time reporting, amazing customer communication, and it's really easy for your employees to learn how to use the software. I'm talking like a one-day learning curve. On top of that, TechMetric has tons of other tools to make you an even better operator. Stuff like integrated payments with buy now, pay later options is a huge asset. Ask me how I know. And recently, they've added a CRM component with their partnership with Shop Genie, which I'm a happy Shop Genie customer already, so I'm super excited about that. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors at play here, but I want to give you some facts about my business since I made the change to TechMetric. In September of 2020, when I switched to TechMetric, my ARO was $293. In September of 2024, we were $916. That's over 300% growth. Now, I'm not saying that TechMetric created all of that change, but I'm 100% saying that I couldn't have come this far without TechMetric. It's a key factor in our growth and success. If you're ready to level up your shop, TechMetric has everything you need: productivity, revenue, customer experience. Measure up by every measure with TechMetric. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more.
I know the quality goes down, and it really doesn't pay off in the end. So I do a lot of weekend work myself, but I don't require anybody to do it.
We just did our first open Saturday in over a decade yesterday. So didn't really advertise it effectively or anything else, and only had 4 appointments on the books when we opened the door. I was kind of nervous it was going to be a big flat dud. It was balls out, man. 22 cars, loaded the table for tomorrow, worked on some of the overflow stuff that we didn't get done Friday. It was good, but we also at the same time switched to a 4-day work week for the staff. So we're open 6 days a week now, but the team works 4 days. So we'll see how it goes. 1 weekend, nobody's quit yet.
Yeah, so. Ours is a little different. We don't do anything the same day. Even an oil change, we might do an oil change, but it's going to be there. You're going to get it here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to pick it up to almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's the only thing that's going to leave here on the same day. The rest of the stuff's going to be here at least usually 2-3 days, a week, a month, something like that.
Why is that? Just because how busy you are, or just you train the customers that way?
Yeah, we don't do appointments. You bring it and you leave it, and when we get through with it, we get through with it. We don't have appointments. You'll pick it up when we call you and say it's ready. We don't have a promise time at all. Not even close. Which we're mostly heavy line.
I've seen the screenshots. That's verified. I've seen the communications with the customers. Yeah, it pretty much goes something like, I already told you, you MFer, don't bring that pile of F to my shop unless you will leave it with me indefinitely, and I will choose when you can get your vehicle back.
Mm-hmm. But we're mostly heavy line. Most of our stuff's big. So it's going to be, it's going to be heads or an engine or a fuel system or something like that. So that's not a quick turnaround job anyway. And I'm going to drive it. Most of the stuff that leaves here, I drive it myself for a couple of days off and on before it leaves. I go run it 20, 30 miles, and then I park it on concrete. It stays overnight on concrete, where the next morning I can go and look and see if it's any leaks underneath it. And then I go drive it again, and I might drive it again and again, because it saves a lot of comebacks. I mean, we still have comebacks, but the more you check one over, the less likely you're going to have a comeback.
Now, is most of the work y'all do for private owners, or is it fleet work, or what?
It's probably 50-50 mix. It's a lot of fleet stuff, but it's a lot of just regular people. And a lot of times,
regular people would be better with your methodology that you just described than fleet work would be.
Yeah. Well, the fleets, they've learned if they want me to fix it, that's the way it's going to have to be.
Now, where you're somewhere in the middle of the country, right? Oklahoma, is that where you're?
No, we're in South Arkansas. Just above just north of the Louisiana line.
Okay. And are there other diesel specialty shops in an hour radius of you?
Maybe a couple. There's one that's pretty close. He's probably an hour from me. And me and him were really good friends. We were best friends. He just died. He got cancer and died. And now the guys that work for him, they're running the shop still. But we never competed. We could coexist, and we were best friends. We traded parts and information, and we were so close that when we traded parts, like he could come get an engine from me or whatever, and we didn't even trade money. We didn't even keep up with it because we traded so closely together that it evened out. We didn't even take money from each other. Like if he needed a set of heads, he just came got them. If I needed an engine block, I just go get it. And we never kept up with the money. We were so close. Now, he was the only competition I really have as far as diesels go. And there's a lot of shops around here. There's a few dealerships and things like that. But the other
you guys are exclusively heavy duty diesel stuff, right?
No, we work on that, and that's been a real hard thing to break because we work on everything. We work on a Yaris, a Toyota Yaris, or we'll work on a Peterbilt, whichever. We do it all.
Okay, so full service, Mike.
7 days a week, service. Motherfucker. So if you it's name of the business is Stroker's Diesel Performance, right?
Well, it actually used to be Zeb's Welding and Machine. And then it grew so much in the automotive stuff, and I shut down the machine and welding part that I changed it to Stroker's Diesel and Performance.
Okay.
And we just did diesel pickups then. I shut off the big trucks and the cars and all that and just did diesel pickups. And then when I moved to this shop, we got so much more room now that I do I picked up the cars and the regular automotive stuff, so we went back to Stroker's Diesel and Automotive.
So tell me about this shop. I've heard that it's just fucking enormous.
We're about 62,000 square feet. Matter of fact, I'm sitting in it. You can see we got a full bar back here. I'm in the shop.
You're at your shop right now?
Yes, I'm in my shop right now.
I thought you were like in your den or something at home.
No, it is. I live here.
Okay.
And I kind of went backwards from what most people do. When I had the concept for this place, I wanted to live here. And so, it's 62,000 square feet. I got 8 bed. I'm not even sure how many bedrooms. 7, 8, 9 bedrooms in here. My bedroom upstairs is, I don't know, it's bigger than my first house. We added up square footage the other day. It's bigger than my first house. My bedroom, and I got me a little living room and all that up there, so I can get away from everybody if I want to. But we had the idea I knew that I was going to have to hire workers from out of state. Mm-hmm. So when I had the concept for this building, I said, I want to build quarters in the shop where if I want to hire somebody from out of state, they can come and live here and go back home. If they want to come work for a couple of months, we'll run them for a couple of months, and then they can go back home or whatever they want to do. So that was the concept for this building. And I later found out I had some guys living here that took advantage of me. So I've kind of scrapped that idea. If I hire somebody new, they can come in and stay for a few weeks or something, and then they got to go get their own damn place. I'm not dealing with that shit no more. But Zach Crowder, he was the first one to live here. He lived here before I lived here. When we moved last year, he came in and lived here by himself when we were still running the other shop. And
so
yeah, this thing was pretty much, it was a dream that I've had for, I guess, my whole life. And then it came to fruition. So I had all these concepts in my mind for years.
That's amazing, man. So how many of those 62,000 are in the finished space, the bedrooms you talked about, your living space?
The front, let's see, that would be, trying to think. I think it's 12,000 feet of living space and office space and parts rooms and that kind of stuff. And then the actual shop part of it is the remainder.
It's 50,000.
And how many bay doors you got there?
I've only got, the way I designed it, I've got.
So you built this building?
Yes, I built it from scratch. I actually built the foundation myself. I did the dirt work
for the
foundation.
Tell him the story about hauling stone in. This will make your.
Oh yeah, when we started hauling gravel, I bought this land and it's in an industrial park over here. My other shop was in Warren, which is, I don't know, it's 15, 20 miles from here. So I decided to move to Monticello, and I went to the Monticello Economic Development Commission. I said, look, I want to move to I'm thinking about moving to Monticello. They said, oh yeah, any land we got is yours. You just tell us what land you want. You have to pay us for it. But it's yours. Wherever you take your pick of the litter, whatever you want, you got it. So I picked this spot, and it was grass growing up head high, you know. And I said, this is the spot, and it looked pretty level. And I said, yeah, this is it right here. So I moved my dozer in here, started pushing the grass off, got it all figured out, laid out where the building was.
Moved his dozer in. We talk about shop owners with boats. Zeb has graders and dozers.
Yeah. I got a D6N, pretty good sized dozer. So I unloaded the dozer, started pushing it off. And I'm like, man, it drops more back here than I thought. So I kind of did some rough calculations on what material I was going to have to haul in to build up the foundation where I had to go. So I guess I was off on my calculations. So the first day we started hauling, I hired a bunch of trucks. I don't know how many trucks we had. They had to haul the particular material that the engineers figured the foundation for came from 35 miles away. So we had to bring the material from 35 miles to dump here to start. And I was thinking 200 loads. I was thinking about 200 truckloads would get it. And I don't know where I came up with that number. I really don't. My math must have been off.
And then how much was it per dump for those 200 loads?
Every time one of those trucks tipped up, it was $330 every time a truck tipped up. So I had figured about 200 loads. So the first day I hired every truck in the county, or in 2 counties. I hired every dump truck there was. And they start bringing, we dumped over 100 loads that day. And I remember getting in my truck to go home, and we had the strings pulled around the place, you know, just how the elevation we had to go to. And I looked at those, and we dumped over 100 loads that one day. And I looked, and I still had like 4 more feet to go.
Hadn't made a dent.
So we dumped, I think we dumped just under the building, under the slab of the building. I think we dumped 800 and some change
at
worth
330 a load.
So, yeah. So add that up.
He hasn't poured no concrete.
Just $250,000 of gravel.
There you go. You're better at math than me. So I was freaking out that first day. I called my banker. I said, hey, my banker's been great. He's amazing. His name's Thomas Frazier. Owns a small bank in Warren, Arkansas, but he's been with me through since I started this whole thing back in 2005. I said, hey man, you remember that money that I got we talked about? I said, I'm probably going to have a bunch more. He's like, don't worry about it. Just keep going. We're too late to back out now. So by the time we got to 800 loads, I was cool with it. And we got it going.
That's So you're 20 years in, and you've gone from welding and machine work to a 62,000 square foot facility.
That's right.
Booked out of your gills. Bring your truck to me if you want to. If you don't, whatever. But I'll do it how I want to do it, when I want to do it, and I'll call you when it's ready. That kind
That's
of deal.
right. Yep,
And
that's it.
how many bays is in that facility, Zeb? I know you've told me before, but
Oh
I can't
Lord,
remember.
I don't know, man. We could probably.
How many
probably
pickup
fit-
trucks you fit in there, you figure?
Man, I bet we could fit 80 of them if we wanted to.
And how many technicians do you have working in this 80 bay facility?
Right now, I just hired one, but he's going to be more of a service manager. It's basically just 3 of us right now. Just 3 of us.
And so tell me about this guy that you just hired. Brian was telling me that you just hired some young hotshot.
Yeah, we'll see. He may not be a hot shot. He seems like it. I'm good with like everything I've ever done in this business. I do it off instinct. I don't do coaching. I listen to the coaches and I read books and I read the groups and I listen to all this stuff, but it comes down to my instincts. I run it off instincts. And so this guy called me and he left a voicemail, and I looked at his voicemail and I don't know, this feeling just come over me. I was like, I think this guy's going to be all right. So I called him back and we talked a minute, and then I interviewed him, I don't know, a couple of days ago, and he's coming to work Monday. And he was going to go interview at some dealerships, and I got scared. I even asked Brian about it. I'm like, do I hit him with the money now, or do I wait and see what they're going to do and bid after they bid?
right now.
I think I did the opposite of what everybody else told me to do. I think everybody told me to wait, and I said no.
I told you to hit him now.
Yeah, you did. So
Yep.
you're on the winning side. That's what I did. I hit him
said,
with
you got
the
to hit
money.
him now, man. You
I
can't
hit
get
him-
anybody else in his head. You got to.
I hit him with the money, and he texted me back. I'll see you Monday. So we'll see. I think he's going to be
That's the
good.
Mike
He's
Allen
got that.
move.
He's
Hit
got
him
that. He's got that spark that I like. You know, he just seems like.
Look,
this
man,
guy.
I believe in that. If you find somebody and it seems like they're an A player and they're going to be part of the team, you do whatever you got to do to get them in right fucking now.
That's
You don't
that's the biggest thing. You got to find somebody that wants to work for you. I want them to wear these colors and be proud of it. If somebody says something about these colors, I want them ready to fight. And I've had employees that were just here. They were good, but they didn't have the pride in these colors, and it won't work out. You got to have somebody that wants to wear this shirt.
I got to tell you, Brian got a couple of your shirts, and I think he's wearing them constantly, and his children are wearing them constantly. So
Well,
I've seen
They
pictures.
solve all my problems.
That stuff started out as a joke, but it turned out it was.
You do
it
need
works.
if you're going to go out anywhere with the shirt on, you're going to need some single mom repellent. I don't know if they sell that with or without DEET, but that's yeah, man, it's freaking crazy. It's crazy the amount of people that see that. I don't even. I was going to have one on, but it's hot as heck in this room, so I don't have my hoodie on. But it's amazing the amount of people that see the design and they're like, "You work for a diesel shop?" Like it's instant. Like people just want to talk to you about it. I'm like, no, but my buddy's got a really cool one down in.
Well, you'll
Like,
be surprised
I
who you run
one,
into.
but I know this guy that's super cool in Arkansas.
You'll be surprised how many people you run into that know me. And I've
Right.
got a friend that he travels all around. He goes all over the country. He goes hunting in different states and different things. And I'm pretty big on Facebook, I guess. I got a lot of people that I know, and I'm good about it. If I go somewhere, I like to talk to people, mingle and stuff like that. So I've got a pretty big area of people that I know around the country. So he says, I don't care. I can go to North Dakota. I can go anywhere in the world. He said, and I can sit down in a restaurant and get to talking to people. And he said, I'll find somebody that knows you. And it holds pretty true.
So you're like the automotive Kevin Bacon. You know?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, you can talk to anybody, and then in between a few different ways, they'll end up being connected to me in some kind of way.
You have some pretty good Facebook marketing.
Yeah.
So I never realized that. I never followed your business page. And you had put some things up there. You had sent me some screenshots of stuff that you put up. I started following it, and oh my gosh, he is No punches pulled on the marketing. It is.
Now, see, I do the opposite. We've talked about this opposite thing. I do the opposite of what a normal business would do, the stuff that they would be afraid to do. I go and do, that's what I do. I do the opposite.
I just went and followed you right now.
So if I get a disgruntled customer, I'll do a preemptive strike. I dare them. I say, man, I dare you, please. I'm not daring you. I'm begging you. Go leave me a bad review so I can reply to it. And most of them won't follow through.
What a moron you are.
Yeah. And very few of them do it. I think I've only got a handful of bad reviews. And the ones I did, they weren't people that didn't even know me. So
my favorite Zeb customer interaction is when he told the guy, I will give you your money back, but every time I see you out in public, I want you to run the other direction.
I did tell him that, and he said, well, I'm not afraid of you. I said, no, that's not what I said. I don't want you to be afraid of me. I just want you to run the opposite way so I don't have to look at you or ever see you again. I want you to be away from me. I said, this money is not giving your money back because I thought I did something wrong. This money is to get rid of you. I never want to see
you to leave the room every time for the rest of your life.
I want you to run the opposite way.
This money is not because I was wrong. This money is paying you for future leaving the room.
And my other favorite one is when he told the guy his money was cursed and he didn't want it anyways.
Man, that son of a bitch was cursed. He still is.
So I'll tell you a problem that I'm having with negative reviews of lately. The name of my business is CarFix, and I've got 3 stores in Raleigh, in and around Raleigh, North Carolina. But we've been in business for about 20 years. Actually, this month is 20 years, so I probably should do some marketing for that. I was just laughing about because you're coming up on 20 years, and you've got a $62,000 square foot facility, and I'm struggling to pay the rent, but whatever. So I've got 3 car fixes in Raleigh, but now when we named it in 2004, 2005, whatever it was, there were no other car fixes. There was one in Hutto, Texas, which is 3 bays. But now they're fucking everywhere, man. They're New York, they're Michigan, they're Tennessee, they're Florida.
Yeah, I got a car fix around me.
Yeah.
But they're not yours.
I'm getting all these 1-star reviews, and they're for these other motherfuckers.
Oh, damn.
I was at your, I won't say the name because I don't know if maybe one of the owners would one day listen, location, but it's one of the locations that ain't in North Carolina. And they just assume that we're all the same. One
car fix is the same as the other.
Damn, yeah, that's tough. And a lot of people ask me, I think me and Tracy had a big conversation about this one day, about how I came up with the name. And when I first named my business, it was when you first start, you don't know shit. I mean, you don't know what to do. So me and my dad started together in the welding machine business, and he was like, let's just name it Zeb's Welding. I said, well, I don't really want welding. There's too many welding shops. I said, we do machine work. Let's just name it Zeb's Welding and Machine, and then I can make this real cool logo with ZWM. He's like, okay. So that's what we did. And I went on, when I shut that down, I was like, man, I got to change this fucking name. This name's got to go. So I fought with it for years, a couple of years. I mean, we were fixing cars. We did not do a single bit of welding at all or machine work, and it was still Zeb's Welding and Machine. I said, I got to do something about this name. So I watched this is before Netflix and all that shit. I mean, I don't even know where I saw this documentary, but it was a documentary about a rock band, and I don't remember which rock band it was. It was a pretty famous rock band. And they said, and the interviewer asked me, he said, how'd you come up with the name for your band? They're like, man, we fought over that name. We had gotten fist fights over it. We did everything. We had people almost quit over the name. And so he said, what we finally did, we took and put all the names that we could come up with in a hat and or wrote them on a list, I guess. They wrote them on a list, and they said we all voted on the one we hated the most, and we all agreed on the one we hated the most. So that's the one we chose. So that's what I did. I took all the names that I came up with, and I hated strokers the most. I said, there we go. That's what we're doing.
You're doing the opposite of popular convention is pretty interesting. if I recall, and so many of the stories I've heard about you, I've heard secondhand, and I apologize if I mess them
No,
up.
that's
Please
fine.
correct me. But it was you actually were talking to a business coach, and they said that you should downsize, get a smaller facility, fire some guys,
Pay. What was it?
pay less.
Junior need to cut Junior's pay. Junior is my son, who at that time he was
Is his name Junior?
no.
And they called him Junior.
They called him Junior.
Yeah,
and
that
they
was a
said, I need
problem.
to
Look
cut
at
his
Zeb's
pay.
face. That was a problem.
At this time, this boy was 17, I think at the time, 16 or 17. But this son of a bitch could turn 80, 100 hours a week, and I need to cut his pay. I said, no, we're not cutting his pay. We'll cut your pay. You're fucking fired. But yeah, I did the exact opposite of what they did. And it was
Everything
coaching
you work
thing.
on. Everything you work, the jobs you were doing were too heavy line. The jobs were too in depth, wasn't that?
Yeah, they were basically going to turn me into a tire shop and an oil change, a quick lube type place.
Hey, you can make money doing that, but it's a
you
different
can, you can. Yeah. But listen here, I was in a town they didn't know who they were talking to. I was in a town of I think Warren is 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people. It's tiny, and there's already 4 tire shops and quick lube places there, some of which are owned by lifelong friends of mine. So why am I going to go into a business that's not going to work and go compete against, friends, and some of them are even family to me? Why am I going to do that? When I'm already successful, and that's what I told him. I said, I'm already successful. The numbers that you want me to be at, I'm already at those numbers. What is the benefit for me doing that? And that's the only reason I signed up with them, is because I've heard all this time, oh, you need a coach, even if. So when I needed a coach, I couldn't afford one. So after I could afford one, I said, hey, let's just see what it's all about. And I said, I'll take my theory of opposites. If I like what they say, I'll do it. If I don't like what they say, I'll go do the opposite. And that's what I did. They said, you need to be in a smaller, at the time I was 12,000 feet. And they said, you need to go into a smaller facility. And they named all this stuff you need to do, and cut Junior's pay. So that was the 2 main things. So instead of going from 12,000 feet to a smaller facility, I went from 12,000 feet to 62,000 feet and gave Junior a raise. So
Seems to have worked out okay.
yeah, it did all right. But I mean, what they said would work. I think if you were dying and you were almost dead and you didn't know what to do, yeah, it would work. But
Yeah.
if you already got an idea of what to do.
Yeah, so like the coaching companies that are out there, the ones that kind of cater to we want to be your first coach, for the guys who maybe can't afford it, like what you're talking about. I mean, they do a good service for these guys, and I often think about what an intoxicating feeling it has to be for those coaches, because you get all these guys that you change their life, you change their business, they're finally making money, they finally can go on vacation. And they tell you that you're like their savior, right? You saved my marriage because I can go home at night, And,
if I would have found them, and I don't know that it would have worked in my area, because they didn't know anything about my area. They were using their approach of whatever they do, their cookie cutter approach. Every shop they do is the same. It's exactly the same. One looks just like the other one. And that's not me. But I think if you were on your deathbed, they could bring you back from death. And you may not be happy doing what they have you doing. It would have changed my business totally. It wouldn't even be what I went in business to do. It would be as far from what I went in business to do as to be in a damn pizza shop. For what they would have had me doing versus what I do now.
Right.
And let me tell you, here's when I figured them out. The coach that they set me up with, I've told Brian this story. It was a big highlight of ASTA. But I'll tell it on this podcast because the listeners, I'm sure, have not heard it. But after the first coach they set me up with, I talked to him there, and I was like, man, I was still kind of skeptical. I was thinking I'm gonna let it see how it shakes out. So I talked to him. I think only one phone call maybe, and so I look him up on Facebook himself. And I go to his page and I'm scrolling through it. And of course, it's just his page is like, it's the most bland shit you've ever seen. I mean,
Cookie cutter.
He was
Yeah,
too boring. Was he too boring for you, Zeb?
oh my God, it was awful. I mean, it was they were standing there going, every picture they're standing in front of a car with their thumbs. It's the gayest shit you've ever seen. So I scroll down his page. I'm scrolling. I'm looking, and I'm on his personal page now, and he goes, "Hey, I'm looking to. I need to move some equipment for the shop. Does anybody on my friends list have a 16-foot trailer that I can borrow?" And I go, Stroker's Diesel does not take financial advice or business advice, any kind of advice from somebody who has to borrow a fucking 16-foot trailer. Stroker's Diesel, we have low boys and shit. I mean,
Stroker's Diesel has semis, low boys, graders, and dozers.
We don't listen to people
telehandlers
that don't have a 16-foot trailer. We don't listen to those people. We don't do that. And I knew right there. I said, "This is bogus. I'm not doing this." And so I called the head guy of the coaching group. I called him the next day and like, "This ain't gonna work, man." "What's the problem?" I said, "It's this coach, man. I'm just telling you. I hate to talk bad on somebody, but he ain't it, man. I'm already past where he's at. I don't think he'll ever even get to where I'm at in his life. If he's this old and he don't have a 16-foot trailer, because in South Arkansas, a 16-foot trailer is your first big boy purchase. I mean, we get those when we're like 16, 17 years old. That's when we get a 16-foot trailer. That's your first big boy purchase." I said, "This guy ain't going to work." "Well, before you quit, let me set you up with a different coach." They set me up with a different one. He was better, but he was the one that told me, the next one's the one that told me we need to cut Junior's pay. And I think he'd never even really run a shop. I think he'd run a Firestone or something. He had run something like that,
Oh,
so
my God.
I knew he didn't have no business telling me what to do.
The first coach, was he from North Carolina?
No.
Okay, so
no.
the company that you were with during that period, there's a dude who's there's a bunch of them that are like big into that company around here, and one of their coaches at the time, well, fuck, I probably shouldn't share this. He had 4 shops at the time, and he has none now.
Mike's got those president vibes going right now.
Yeah.
He's the president of ASTA. He's getting nervous.
The dude didn't renew his membership, so.
This dude's not from North Carolina. I had to look him up.
Okay. But he was coaching people around the country, and I would have people call me and they'd be like, "Hey man, this guy's my coach. I know that he's in your area." I was like, "Oh boy, he just closed another shop last week."
Yeah, you don't take advice from people who are going backwards. Or
he got up to 4 and he back down to 1, and he's no longer in the industry. And he's no longer a coach for that company.
On the technical side, I've always said, I don't care what the guy who can't fix the car thinks it needs. When somebody's like, "Yeah, we worked on this for a while. I think this is what's wrong, this, that, and the other thing." I don't care what the person who can't fix the car needs. I don't care what the guy who's doing half the revenue and closed 2 shops thinks my shop needs. I don't care. I don't care.
When I opened my second shop, I joined a BNI group because the place that I bought out was an active member of a BNI group. And it was really good for me for about a year. And then I had to step back because I just didn't have time for it. But there was a business coach in the group, and he was always trying to get me to sign up with him for coaching. And he brought his cars in to me. He started temporarily for a short period of time bringing his cars to me. And he had like a 04 Exploder, right? That had the code button door unlock, and the door handles had always broke. Door handles were broke, and he couldn't fix them. Like, it was a budgetary constraint. I said, "Man, how are you wanting to be a business coach, driving shit boxes that you can't get a functioning door handle on. Like he would open the rear door and reach forward and pop it open.
First thing, what mustard-eating mouth breather can't put a door handle on an Explorer, even if you're not in the industry? My freaking 9-year-old, I could have him watch a YouTube video. I bet you I put him on that shit at 8 a.m. I bet you by lunchtime he has 4 door handles in an Explorer.
Well, that's a big deal.
Mustard eating mouth breather? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I left some of the others. This it's a not safe for work saying. I left a lot of it out. I only put half. I only put the G-rated parts in there.
Well, me and Brian talked about this a lot of times, it sounds like I've been beating up on coaches since I got here, but it's not really about that. There's some great coaches out there, and they teach some great things. But I've heard it come out of a lot of them's mouth, and Brian has even said this same thing. It's not about fixing the car. I've even heard them say, and Brian's heard them say it, they say, it doesn't matter if you fix the car. Haven't we heard that, Brian? It doesn't matter if you fix the car. It's about the customer experience. And
it can be about the customer experience, but you have to fix the fucking car. That's what you do.
That's exactly right. And
I go to Roost Chris and I have incredible service and a beautiful place, and everything is wonderful except the food is shitty.
When people tell me that fixing the car doesn't matter, I say then just sell parts, man.
Yeah,
just sell parts, dude.
That right there. When I was talking to this other coaching company, we never talked about fixing cars. We didn't talk about that at all. We talked about flushing oil out. We talked about this, wallet flushes and all this kind of stuff. We didn't talk about fixing cars.
I'm starting. I've got my next call Monday, tomorrow. With my first ever one-on-one coach, and I'm recording it for this, so it'll be published. It's just one of my stores. We're opening the books, and I'm just going to do a one-on-one coaching. I've never had one. It's with Elite. I've been in an Elite 20 group for my entire career. My dad was in one before me, and so I've been in the 20 group process forever, which has been invaluable for me because you're in a room full of dudes who are already well above average in our industry, right? And so you can trade ideas and bounce ideas back and forth. But I never had a one-on-one coach, so I'm a little bit nervous, honestly, because I've kind of been fucking off and not doing the things I'm supposed to do a lot of the time. And
I don't do anything I'm supposed to do. I've never done that my whole life.
I'm going to have accountability, and it's going to be recorded and shared with other people. So we'll see how that goes.
It's going to be great.
Dude, I see you're drinking from your goblet of victory or whatever that is. Yep. I want to know about the AR-15 decanter in the background.
Oh, yeah, that's my father-in-law got that for me. My father-in-law built all these cabinets. You can't see it from this video, but this bar I'm sitting at, I think it's 22 feet long, and then it turns and goes about another 10 feet. There's 16 bar stools.
Mike, you should just move ASTA
to black walnut. It's black walnut from North Carolina. My father-in-law's a cabinet builder, and then me and my wife had to go help him whenever he was doing. He's 74 years old and builds all this by himself. He's the greatest cabinet maker in the world. His name's Lee Nelson. Anyway, he built that for me. Made that. He bought it somewhere. Bought the glass thing, and then the wooden hold. Yeah, the stand for it. It wasn't up to his standards, so he threw it away and made his own stand for it. But yeah, that's full of Jameson. We drink some Jameson around here. My drink of choice most of the time is Freak Show wine, though. I've kind of become a wine guy in the last few years.
They say it's a more developed palate, right, and more flavor profile.
Yeah, it really is. When you first start drinking wine, you think this is terrible, and then you like it, and then you go through a phase where you can drink all wine. It doesn't matter cheap wine, good wine, all of it. It doesn't matter. And then you hit another phase where now I'm at the point where I can almost tell where the wine came from. And Freak Show is not an expensive wine, but it's still my favorite. I've had really expensive wine. I've had really cheap wine, and it's pretty much my favorite. Napa Valley wines are pretty much my favorite, but this one actually doesn't come from there. It comes from Lodi. Lodi is where the Freak Show comes from.
Where is Jimmy Purdy at? Because he talks about the
Paso
area where
Robles, whatever they call it.
Robles. Yeah, he
Yeah,
says
I've
that
had
that's
some wine
becoming the
from
new
there.
Napa Valley. Yeah,
Lots of people are into California wine.
Yeah,
I'm into Boone's Farm. So
I just gave a to some people who enjoy very nice California wine. I actually went to the liquor store here and I asked the lady, I said, I need the cheapest bottle of wine you have. And she gave me the cheapest, grapiest, sweetest bottle of wine, which I guess if you're drinking wine for a long time, like it's got to be dry, it's got to be California. This was New York and like Kool-Aid.
Scuppernong Blush.
One of them was barefoot fruit scotto. And I took a label and I put over it and I just wrote California super dry on it. I handed it to him. It was
wine is I can enjoy the cheap sweet stuff better than I can the really cheap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes it almost has a ketchup flavor to it. And when you first start drinking it, you don't pick up on that. But after you get a taste for it, I can tell wine that's been open for a while. I can tell if it's old. I've opened brand new bottles of expensive wine. And you know how when you order wine in a restaurant at a nice place, they let you smell of it and all that? I've got to where I used to make fun of people that did that, but I can smell of it now and I can tell you, no, it's not going to be any good because it has a certain smell that it has, and it's a ketchup, Worcestershire sauce smell that hits you, and you don't even drink it because it's no good. Tell them to bring you another bottle.
Did you do any teaching events to develop that ability to recognize that kind of stuff?
No, I just drank a lot of wine. I just drank a lot of wine.
That's the best kind of learning.
Throw him right in the pool, see if he's.
That's how I learned to run a shop. The same way. I just said I can run a shop, and I'm gonna get in here and do it.
Can I ask you some of your key numbers? Like, I know
you can ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. I'll share anything you want.
So we got 62,000 square feet. You got 50,000 square feet of shop space. You could probably fit 70 or 80 trucks in the shop at any given time. Relatively small crew. What's your labor rate?
My labor rate is our lowest labor rate right now is 167 and some change. I can't remember the exact change.
And what's your highest one?
My highest one is 235 and some change.
Nice. And so we've got people that are listening.
No, it's actually 255 and some change. European rate is 255 and some change. 235 and some change on heavy duty trucks, on the big trucks.
Perfect. There are people that are going to listen to this that are in the suburbs of fucking Boston or that are in Southern California that are going to say, I can't raise my labor rate because I'm too expensive, and they're sitting at 150.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I talk to them every day.
Yeah. And just, man,
the diesel guys are even worse. I almost got blackballed from the diesel shop owners community because we got into a big argument a couple years ago about labor rates and what they were charging because they work for nothing. Even the biggest diesel guys you see, like I'm not going to name them by name, but if you see the big diesel
some of
shops,
your YouTube stars do stuff for
like
they don't understand
like 115, 125 an hour. Some of them are still at 100.
They don't understand the value of the job they're doing.
No, absolutely not.
That's another thing with diesel.
They'll do DCR pump conversions. DCR pump. If you know anything about power strokes, you've heard of the CP4, the CP4 injection pump problems, right? About they blow up and put. You don't know
Mike,
that?
I believe you, brother.
Anyway, we got this new pump conversion that came out.
Mike would be on the package of ramen noodles for dinner if he had to fix cars.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike is the not fixed part of car fix.
Yeah. So
Mike's the car fucked part of car fix.
Sorry.
This deal, no, it's all right. This deal comes out and it's the fix for this pump going out. I mean, they're all going to fail and they cost big money to repair it properly because you have to do the whole fuel system. So this pump comes out. We've been waiting on it for years, and it comes out. And these guys are doing them with labor. They're only making like $500 to $700 complete off this job.
My God.
And it saves the customer it saves the customer $10,000 because they don't have to replace the whole.
And mind
fuel system.
you, I think the warranty time, even the warranty time, if you were to switch out a CP4, is like 6 hours or something like that. I don't know. It may be a little less, but they're doing this job for like less than $100 per build hour. Some of these guys.
Yeah, by the time they pay the tech and when they walk away, the shop owners got $300, and they got fighting mad at me. We got a secret shop owners group that you're not supposed to talk about, but they got mad at me, said I was highway robber, and I mean they talk trash to me, you know. But whatever.
Fight club of shop owner groups.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do my thing, and they can do theirs. I'm not backing up from what nobody says, but it's tons of. That's when I learned a lot of them, and they're $100. They're still at $100 an hour.
Can I put
They
on
said
here
they
that
were
you said you're
helping
part
the
of a secret
community.
society?
Yeah, I'm part of a secret society.
So you guys want to hear about a stupid fucking mistake that I made?
Yeah,
Sure.
This is Confessions of a shop owner. It was originally supposed to be Confessions of a shitty shop owner, but some people get nervous about having that in the name, and they fear censorship and that kind of thing.
Shit is a great name for anything.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Anytime you want to have
shit in
something
the
that's
name.
good, just add the word shit.
It's the
I
best
put shit
name
in
for
the
a
name of a
class.
class.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
So I got a buddy who's in all the same groups that we're in. His name is Brian Kerwin. He was a technician for my father back in the day. We're the same age, and so when I came back to working for my dad in 2001, we used to go out and run around town, bar hopping and that kind of stuff back in the day. And then I went away to CarFix, and he ended up opening his own shop. And so he's got a shop about an hour west of me, but it's domestic and Asian only, light duty only. And he bought an F450 at a farm auction with a 6.4, 2008, and it needs head gaskets. And he didn't know it when he bought it, right? And so I've taken in my buddy's F450 6.4 to do head gaskets. And it turns out it's a Pennsylvania truck from the auction. He said, when you fold the mirrors in to get it between the lift arms, the mirrors are probably going to break because they're so rusted on the inside. So go ahead and order some more mirrors for me. And I'm thinking, this is going to be a fucking disaster. We're going to get the cab off this truck and never put it back on.
We're doing a bunch of 6.4s that way.
So I need Zeb, I need your technical expertise on those motors, and Brian, I need your rust expertise to come down and if y'all just handle this for me. Can I just sub it out to you guys?
This is too easy. It's $24,000, long block only. Have a nice day.
Yep. When somebody calls me and says, I have which I think in 2025, we're not taking any 6.4s, but over the last couple of years, somebody calls and they say, I have a 6.4. I stop them right there. I said, how much money do you have?
Because we're going to use all of it, baby.
Yeah.
We're going to use a shit ton of it.
Yeah. And I got to take up for 6.4s. Most of the stuff you see around me, it started with the 6.4s. That's when I started becoming famous. I started becoming famous on 6.0s. I got really good on 6.0s. And then around in, I don't know, it was, I'm going to say 14, 15, the 6.4s they were already popular, but they were falling out of warranty. And man, in those years, and we're in the South, so we don't have rust to deal with. And I'd take those things, and they were still, they still owed money on them at the bank. So
they had to fix them.
at that time, everything was cheaper. So I could rebuild an engine. At that time, I could do one for about $15,000 and do it right.
Notice he said rebuild because nobody head gaskets a 6.4, Mike.
No.
No.
Nope.
You
get
pull
pistons,
that oil cap off.
You get everything.
Yeah. If you idle that thing cold and you pull the oil cap off, the blow-by is going to look like the little engine that could, even if it's on its second motor.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that's where I was fortunate.
That motor ain't no fucking good, buddy.
You want me to give you some more red flags?
What's that?
He brought with him the the Jasper warranty card
Oh my God!
and want me to call the Jasper rep who's going to come
Throw
out.
that son of a bitch in the trash.
So
Mm.
I'm going to clip this part of the recording and email it to him. He's in fucking Barbados or something right now. So
Well, Brian,
He's in Barbados.
Has Mike heard the beaver list part of Jasper?
Do you know what Zeb told them one time?
no,
Well, when I
I
first
feel like
when
I need to
fir-
know.
Yeah.
when I first got in the automotive business, the Jasper rep, he was always coming by in his little car, and he had his little computer with his little his little video of how they do everything. All this, so I started pushing his engines, and at first I didn't sell any. And something happened. I don't really know what happened, but I started selling them. And I sold, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 engines, transmissions, and the like. Man, they all went great. I sold every one of them, got approvals on all of them. And then those sons of bitches started coming back, one after the other. And I fought with them to get my money. At first they send me another one. I'd put it in, send the other one back, put another one in, send it back. And so I called them. I said, "Hey, where's my money for these warranties? What's going on?" Well, they're still in the tear down, and we got to tear them down and see what happened. I said, "I don't give a damn about you tear down. I already put it in. I put it in. That has nothing to do with me. I need my money for putting it in." So finally, I called one day. I said, "What about my money on this transmission?" The transmission was the first one, and I had put it in. What had happened? I'd put the transmission in. Of course, it was a Nissan Altima. So what does that tell you? Anyway, I put the transmission in, and the girl made it home. And I drove it around quite a bit, and then the girl took it and went home with it. And when she lived about 30 miles from me, when she got home, she called me throwing a fit, said it wouldn't. After she parked and got back in it to go somewhere, it wouldn't move. So I got a cussing and all this. So I took my roll back, go pick it up, get it back to the shop, check the fluid. Fluid looks fine, smells fine, all this. I get in it and drove it around the block. It's fine. So I called Jasper. I said, "Look, I went and got this car. She said it wouldn't move. It's moving now. Transmission fluid smells fine. It's full. What do you want me to do?" They said, "Well, if it's not failed, there's nothing we can do." I said, "So what are you saying?" They said, "Well, it's got to be to the point of failure." I said, "Okay." So at that time, I lived 20 miles from the shop. So
You went
I hop in it.
drifting.
Well,
in
I
it.
just hop in it to go home that night, and I get about 5 or 6 miles from the house, and I feel it. It starts binding. It's getting in a bind. Something's binding up, and so I'm like, well, I'm not going to get the flatbed and then loading it up and all this shit the same again. So I drove it on the house. Got up the next morning, and it still wouldn't move. So I went and got the roll back, loaded it up, took it to the shop, still wouldn't move. I called them. I said, "Okay, it's broke."
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they said, "We got that transmission back, and it was fried, lack of lubrication." I said, "Well, that's usually what happens when you drive one till it won't move anymore. It usually smokes it up pretty good." And I said, "So what are we going to do?" They said, "Well, it ran out of oil." I said, "No, it didn't. It didn't run out of oil." I said, "I called and asked you what to do, and this is what you told me to do." They said, "Well, we're not calling to argue with you. We're calling to tell you. We're not paying you to swap this transmission. Matter of fact, as many warranty claims as you've had already, any further warranty claims, we're not sending you another unit till you send the other one back for tear down and inspection before we." I said, "Fat fucking chance on that. Yeah, you get you have both my transmissions or engines, the core and the one I put in, and then you take it apart and then you tell me it's my fault. No, we're not doing that." I said, "I tell you sons of bitches what?" I said, "I'll train a team of beavers to chew me an engine out of a block of wood before I install another one of your damn transmissions or engines or whatever." And I hung up on him. I said, "I may not get any more. I may not get any money from you." I said, "But I'm going to make it my life's mission. Anytime anybody talks about Jasper engines and transmissions, from this day forward, I'm going to tell them my story on it." And that's what I have done.
I don't know who among us in our community is the best with AI image generators, but we need a team of
Yeah.
beavers chewing an engine block out of a block of wood.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
If you could get it to us. I think
Well, I've waited for
and
that
the
rip.
beavers are wearing stroker shirts.
Yeah.
that'd be sick.
Well, I've added a few to the list since then, but
Their warranty department can be. I had one time, just what was it? I think it was a 6-speed in a Chevy I put in, and they have those heat tabs on them, Zeb, where they can tell they've been overheated, right?
Oh,
And they didn't clearance something in this transmission right. Something wasn't clearanced properly, so it was applying 2 gears at the same time. So I drive it, I call them up, and they said, "No, man, we're sending you new Tecum. We're going to send you new valve body put in it." I go, "I don't think this thing's clearanced right." So they send me a new valve body, and I go, "Nope." I go, "It still ain't right. It's grabbing 2 gears at the same time." "Well, you have to drive at 50 miles to break it in." I drove at 50 miles, and it went from binding to neutrals in 2 years. And I call them, and I send them pictures. They go, "Well, the heat tabs popped. What do you expect us to do?" I go, "No shit." I said, "When stuff is grinding together in there, the shit gets hot, bro." Like, you didn't put it together right. What do you want me to do? You told me to go drive at 50 miles. I drove 50 miles. It broke more. And you're like, "Well, man, it broke more." No duh.
well,
You think I want to do this job again? Like,
Yeah.
I got shit to do, man.
That's what I told him. I said, "Look, man, before I started dealing with y'all, I said I put in used engines and transmissions. I never had any problems. I built my own. I didn't have any problems. Then magically, when I start using yours, then I start having problems. What's the common denominator here? It's you. It's not me. It's you."
So you think about how big they are on their end of the world. They're dealing with so many different people, and our industry as a whole is pretty fucking bad at what we do.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
they probably deal with a lot of morons who don't know what they're doing and who are fucking up the units that they get that are good.
100% agree.
And
I
so
can agree with that.
They paint with a broad brush and assume that everyone's a moron because it's human nature to defend your own efforts and not accept your own failures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, I hear a lot of what you guys are talking about common failure points.
But to take up for myself, I've seen actual pictures of engines taken apart that had different size pistons. Like they would bore one hole 20 thousandths. This hole would be stock. A crankshaft that would be turned 20. This one 10. Shit like that. I had one of my friends, he sent me pictures, one of my close friends that I know. I mean, I know this guy. He was, for some reason, I think he heard something in the oil pan. He took it off, and there was a handful of oil pan bolts in the oil pan before he ever even installed the engine. I think when he picked it up out of the I'm going to think he took it out of the crate. He heard something clanking, and he took the pan off, and it was full of oil pan bolts in the pan. The pan had all the bolts in it, but it had some additional oil pan bolts in the pan.
Came with bonus bolts.
Bonus bolts.
Holy shit, man! I pulled you up on Facebook. Do you have a drone video taking like a panorama shot of inside your shop?
Yes. The main floor of my shop is 210 by 150. The main floor.
Brian, have you seen this shop?
Not in person. I've seen a ton of pictures. My favorite picture that Zeb has ever sent me. Zeb has a lot of cool toys, and he's got. Do you know what a telehandler is, Mike? It's like that forklift with the 4-wheel steer. It's super big. They like deliver rooftop supplies with it. It's a really big forklift, but like has an extending boom that can stick way out. The favorite picture I have that Zeb ever sent me was him putting his commercial tanning bed in the second floor of his shop with a telehandler. I'm like, this guy is a freaking baller. This guy.
Well, all I know is like, I'm seeing
not a little ass tanning bed. Like this freaking tanning bed weighed a couple 1,000 pounds. This is
it's a story behind that tanning bed. We got to go in the Keys going fishing. That was my deal in 2014 when I became a baller in 2014, 2015 in that era. We were going the Keys going fishing a lot. And we would go in December. So I would sunburn every time we went. So my wife, she's a tanning bed freak. She loved tanning beds and laying in the sun since I met her, since '98 when I met her. Anyhow, she would go to the tanning bed. She said, "Well, won't you go to the tanning bed with me before we go on our trip in December, and you won't burn?" I was like, "Man, I don't lay in no damn tanning bed, man." Shit. So she kept on. I said, "Okay, I'll try it." Because I'll try anything once. Anything. I'll try it once. So I'm like, okay. So I went and got my membership, and they had all the regular beds, and then they had the big bed, the big nice, the fancy one. And you get, when you buy a membership, you get one visit in the big bed, and then all the rest of your visits are in the regular beds. So I went to the regular beds, and I loved it. I was like, man, this is great, because I love summertime and I love sunshine. So it gets dark and dreary in the winter, and I could go lay in the tanning bed and it like helped my mood. It brought my mood up, the UV rays, that stuff's real. And so I enjoyed it. I said, man, this is great. I love this. And I'm like, I'm going to get me a tanning bed. So then I messed up. I saved my visit to the big bed. So when I went and laid in that big bed, the first time I laid in it, I said, I will have one of these beds by the end of the week. So I bought one, and I had it at my old place. I mean, I had that thing. I think I got that thing in 2015 or 16, something like that. And then I moved it over here. And let me tell you something about, if any of your friends call and want you to help move a tanning bed, don't do it. That's the heaviest thing.
About like
I don't know.
a hot tub.
Some bitch must be made out of lead in some kind of way. Because I'm telling you, it is so heavy. We put it in that little building where it was at. I had a special building that I put it in at my old place, and when we put it in there, I said, I ain't moving this thing ever again. But I ended up moving it to here. We took it apart, and then I was like, I'm not assembling this thing up here. I'm going to assemble it here where I can put it together with forklifts and that kind of thing. And I assembled it, and then I had to pick it up. And they're not made to pick up assembled. So I had to pick it up and set it in the upstairs portion because it's upstairs. And I had to pick it up. So I sent Brian a picture of it when I had it all rigged up and setting it up in that.
On a freaking telehandler.
So when I was installing my commercial tanning bed in the second floor of my 12,000 foot home, which attaches to my 50,000 foot shop. Fuck. I'll tell you, the video that I just watched, at the end of it, there's a school bus back in the back of the shop. It looks really small because it's so far away. And it's,
the D6 is behind the school bus if you look close enough.
Oh my God.
There's a bulldozer back there.
Yes, those are back there too.
Zeb, you can pull a semi truck in with a low boy trailer on it. You can pull it in the door of the shop, turn around in the shop, and drive back out the same door. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, that's how big the shop is, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when are you going to start doing tours, like paid tours? Like,
I'll do one now.
Come spend a weekend at Zeb's.
Well, I don't know. I thought about that because everybody that comes here, see, that's what these dumbass shop owners, they don't realize. This shit is an advertisement. I got people all around the world that talk about this shop. And they go spend, like this coaching company, they wanted me to spend like 10% of my gross on advertising. Yeah, on mailers. They said, we're going to send out mailers. I said, man, nobody reads a fucking mail. They throw it in the trash. I ain't doing that.
I spent so much fucking money on junk mail, bro.
Everybody talked about Zeb going sport fishing. You know what he did about that? He went like 8 more times that year. Posted every damn picture on Facebook.
I use that for marketing. That's how people got to know me the most. That's when I kind of started figuring this marketing deal out. I would go fishing and catch, swordfish and sailfish and big mahis and stuff and hold them up. And that's how everybody that came in the shop, they're like, they'd come in and I'd
you
be
were
taking
nervous to put that out there at first, right?
Yeah, I was. I was like, my customers are going to be jealous because I live in a small, everybody's small-minded here.
Yeah.
And so they would come in. I'd be like, man, what's wrong with your truck? And they're like, man, fuck that truck. What about your fishing trip? They wanted to talk about the fishing trip. They didn't even want to talk about their truck. They wanted to talk about what I caught when I went fishing. They didn't even want to tell me what was wrong with it where I could write it down. So that's when I started figuring it out. I said, you want to be a baller your whole life. Just go live like a baller and use it for marketing. And that's what I did.
Well, I'm looking at all your pictures on social media, and yes, you are living like a baller, brother.
Yep. And if you want to be a baller, you got to live like a baller first. You have to do that first.
There's baller buy-in.
Because if you wait on it, it'll never come. You just got to start living it.
Did you race quads professionally?
Yes. Well, not professionally. I wanted to. That was my dream. I wanted to do that, but you can't make money at it. And then I got hurt real bad, and I quit that. I think my last time to swing a leg over one was 2014, I think, and I quit after that. My son did it.
Do you ride recreationally at all?
No. My bike's broke. The last race that I rode, it was broke and they took it apart, and I took it apart and I never put it back. It's still sitting outside. It's still sitting here.
Huh.
I took it apart and never put it back together because I knew if I put it back together, I'd have to take it back out.
Zeb,
I had to quit
you might be the
cold
most
turkey.
interesting man in automotive.
He quit cold turkey. He quit for
Cold turkey.
Does your brother? You told me your brother drives sprint cars, though, right?
Yeah, my brother, he races sprint cars. We both got into four-wheeler racing at the same time. That's kind of how my journey got into automotive. We were just kids, and we played sports and all that kind of stuff, and it was team sports. And I'm not a team guy real good. I'm good at leading a team, but I'm not good at being on a team. Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't know what
I in teams, Zeb, but
I didn't know what daddy ball was. None of that. I didn't realize what it was, and I'll never forget the summer that kind of changed my life. We were playing baseball, and I was pretty good, and I wanted to pitch so bad, man. I wanted to, and I'd go home every day and I'd just pitch and I'd pitch and I'd pitch. And I learned how to throw this curveball, and I'm telling you, it was the meanest curveball you ever seen. I had to aim at the batter's head. If he was a right-handed batter, I would aim at his head, and the ball would get almost to his head. It would break and go right in the glove. And so I got really good at this. And so I was asking the coach, I was like, "Hey man, please let me pitch. I'm telling you, I got it. If you let me get in there." And they never would. They let me pitch at practice and all. And it was a lot of daddy ball involved. Is probably the reason I didn't get to pitch. So finally, I don't know if everybody got hurt. I don't know what it was, but they let me pitch. And, man, I did. I threw this curveball, and nobody could hit it. They'd run out of the box, and it'd be a strike. I mean, it was great. So after that game, they're like, "Yeah, man, you showed us that you got it. You're going to pitch from now on." So the next day at practice, I broke my foot. I broke a bone in the side of my foot. The next day at practice, I was like, "Damn." So I had to go get this big cast on and everything. So I was on crutches, and doctor told me I was going to be off 6 weeks or whatever. Well, that put it after the season was over. I was like, "Well, hell, this year's shot." So it went on for like maybe 2 weeks, and then the coach starts calling, "When are you getting off those crutches? We need you to pitch. We need you to pitch. We need you to pitch." I was like, "Well, hell, my foot feels pretty good. I'll cut this down." So at 3 weeks, I cut the cast off. I said, "All right, I'm back. Coming.
I'm back."
So I remember that game we went to.
Stupid cast.
We went to the
doctor
game.
lady.
Yeah, and I thought I'm fixing to pitch right here. So I walked in there. They didn't let me pitch. They stuck me out on first base. I played first. I was really good at first base. They put me on first base or whatever. Never put me in the game. And when that game was over, I'm telling you, I was so damn mad. I said, "I will never play sports again. I'm done with all sports, football, baseball, basketball. I'm done with it." And at that time, we had some friends that had been going to dirt track races. And I was always mechanically minded. We had motorcycles and four-wheelers and stuff like that. And we always had to fix them. My dad, he was a horse trainer. He didn't have time to work on it, so we had to fix them ourselves. And so they had been telling us, wanting us to go to the dirt track races with them. And we left that ball game that night and went straight to the dirt track races. And we fell in love. Me and my brother both, we said, "The hell with anything with a stick and a ball, and the hell with that. This is where it's at, something with a motor on it." So I think I was probably 12 or 13 at the time. My brother was 2 years behind me. And at that time, nowadays kids drive cars, dirt track cars at a pretty young age. But back then you had to be 18 before they would let you on the track. But they did have go-kart races. Once a year in the infield, they would let kids bring go-karts. So shit, that's all it took. We was which my dad, he fell in love with it too. We started building a dirt car. And then me and my brother went and begged and borrowed every go-kart we could find sitting in somebody's yard. Somebody's kid had broke it and forgot it, but couldn't fix it, whatever.
To Frankenstein something together.
We drove around. At that time, this was in the early 90s, so you could get away in our area. If you were a kid, you could drive around in daddy's pickup and not get in trouble. So me and my brother, every day when we got home from school, we'd get in the truck and we would ride around and find go-karts and lawnmowers and anything had a motor on it, and we'd bring it home. And we built these damn go-karts and just rode them until once a year race in the middle of the track. And then the dirt car that we built, we got to drive it. We got to pack the track in. It's all we got to do. But that's where the motor sports or motor, the mechanical side.
The automotive focus, yeah.
Yeah, the automotive stuff came out in me. And that's when it started.
That's cool.
And then in those days too, see, another thing, nowadays – if you're dirt car racing, you go buy an engine from an engine builder or whatever. But in those days, you bought everything from the junkyard. Everything came from the junkyard.
We have a joke about it now. They call it a $40,000 roller now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to go dirt track race. You got to have $40,000 to buy a roller. Then you got to have another $20,000 to buy a motor.
Well, one of my biggest life influences was a guy named Billy Joe Pierce, and he owned a junkyard up the road from where we lived. And that's where we bought our parts. And I'll never forget the first day I ever got to meet him. And if you knew him back then, you would see he's a lot like the way I am now. I thought, this is the coolest son of a bitch I ever met. He's got this drag race truck. Pull my headphones off. He's got fast boats. He's got plenty of money. He's got this junkyard. He does all this stuff. And I said, I want to be just like him. So it went on a couple of years, and I ended up going to work for him. And he hired me. I was basically just a kid, and he hired me, and I was damn near. I wasn't running the junkyard, but I did the jobs that grown men did. I talked to customers, sold parts, set the prices on parts, all that stuff. Run the wrecker. At 14 years old, I was running the wrecker out there. So that's where I got my start.
God bless
and
him,
I always wanted to be Billy Joe Pierce, and still do. He was the coolest person I ever met, and so that's just where it came from.
That's awesome. I'm scared because my daughter, my youngest, is 10 years old, and I got her in a go-kart in late November, and she's fucking hooked. And so every day after school, can we go to the track? Every weekend, can we go to the track? Every Sunday after church, can we go to the track? And she's gotten now where she's crushing these 14, 15-year-old kids that are out there, right? And she's setting lap times in the junior karts that are up there with the adult karts. And the limiting factor right now is her physical strength to manhandle the kart.
To manhandle
right?
the steering wheel, sure.
Yeah. But I think it's about time that I'm going to have to buy a cadet kart and put a 206 motor in it and get her running.
Shovel all the coals to that fire that you can. Because team sport, my daughter played softball. She could have been one of the best, but it's a team sport. If I'd have kept playing team sports, I would not be sitting here where I'm at today. It was the weight of all that team stuff. It was suppressing what gifts I was given. It'll hold you back.
I think that's interesting because the entrepreneurial spirit is a spirit to go out on your own and be a loner to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that I ask in my interview process is, did you play any sports in high school or college? Because I want people that played team sports in high school and college because I want them to be a team player and be and be used to relying on others and it's interesting. But to be the man, it helps to be an individual sport person, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, if you shine in team sports, that's great. But there's a lot of hidden talent that doesn't shine in team sports because of it may not necessarily have anything to do with their talent. It may be due to circumstances.
Sure.
And that's
Some
the way
deep shit right there, man.
That's right.
Dude, I could do this for like 5 hours tonight. You know how we are when we get on Friday nights. We go until like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not going to do that to you tonight. But this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Zeb.
I love talking about me. We can talk about me. We can do this
all
every day
fucking night. We can
to.
talk about me till tomorrow.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Me is my favorite subject.
Well, I might try to drag you back in here one night. We do every now and then. We'll get like 4 or 5 people together, and we'll just have just random shit talking episodes where we get together and just talk about life and everything else. I'd love to have you if you're interested. But anyway,
anytime.
Zeb Beard, Strokers Diesel and Performance in Arkansas. Thank you for being here, brother.
Man, you're welcome. It's an honor for me to be here with both of y'all. I've looked up to Brian for a long time, even before we got to be like real friends. Ever since I saw him on Facebook land, I was a fan of Brian's.
Everybody looks up to him just because he's 6'5".
Well, yeah, that's true.